What's going on, guys? It's Mirwin. Today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite albums from 2023. So if you haven't been watching the YouTube channel, we've been talking about some of my favorite albums from 2023. Today we're going to be doing the album For All the Dogs from Drake. If you haven't watched any of the past videos, we kind of talked about what I liked, what I didn't like, some of my favorite tracks. So we're just going to get straight into it today. So, For All the Dogs, definitely super hyped coming out for this album. Definitely, there was a big, lots of buzz surrounding it when it was coming out. Especially coming off of Her Loss, came out earlier that, the previous year, was just pretty successful. Also a great album that I enjoyed. So definitely was pretty excited for this album. I'm a huge Drake fan. I think got one of his albums back here somewhere. Might be blocked by me, but definitely a big Drake fan. One of the first rappers I really remember listening to, all that stuff. So going into kind of the stuff I liked for this one, something that I really was pleasantly surprised with this album was how much R&B he did on this album. So he had a lot of songs where he went more in the R&B singing direction. I think honestly this was probably the most he has done, if you exclude Honestly Nevermind, that he has done on an entire album of R&B songs. I know Scorpion, he kind of did that with like the half and half type idea, but I feel like this album he did a lot of that, and I think it was better in my opinion, which was really interesting to see him kind of more hone in on that. Which is really cool. Something I liked as well was the features. Like I say, we got First Person Shooter of J. Cole, one of my favorites on the album. Great song, super good. Definitely one of my favorites from the album. We got SZA on there, which he hasn't collaborated with before. We got Yachty, which is really dope. And then we got obviously 21 Savage, which he has been with before. And then we got Tizo, which is like the upcoming artist, which is really cool. So I think the feature mixture was really cool there, where it was a good mixture of features where there was some that maybe he hasn't collaborated with before, some I didn't really expect. So I think that was really dope. Like I say, Yeet on a Drake song is like kind of crazy, maybe something you wouldn't have expected. Something I like as well is just the production. I think, like I say, this album did a good job of maybe kind of building on the Her Loss. Both Her Loss and For All the Dogs kind of have a similar production aesthetic, I think, where it's kind of more of maybe a more modern take on More Life or Views or something like that. Just kind of have some different production there. It wasn't really, like I say, nothing that's like too crazy out there or like, man, this beat is crazy. But I think the production was really good and good enough, interesting. There aren't any like songs or beats where it's like, oh, this isn't like Tuscan Leather or like Paris Morton music or stuff like that. But just good production, which I think is kind of standard for Drake at this point. But the production was really good, so something I enjoyed there as well. Some of the stuff I didn't like here, we got a longer track list here. So 23 songs. This album's an hour and 24 minutes long, which I think is pretty long, and I would say definitely too long. So I think that was definitely something I didn't like as much. I think you could definitely cut a decent amount of songs here, probably get down to 16, and it'd be a much better album. I think the other thing that lends to that side is I think the track list can get a little stagnant at points. I think especially once you get toward the middle section where he really starts honing in on that R&B side. I think the frustrating part, as someone who's also an artist, and obviously I make music as well, is I think a lot of those songs, unfortunately, probably get lost in the track list just because there's so many of those back to back of like that R&B, the R&B songs kind of back to back there, where they're good songs, and they're definitely, not bad or anything, but, you just kind of, you feel like maybe the last couple songs have been similar, you skip, okay, I want to hear what the next one is. So I think that's maybe a little unfortunate, where, again, I think if you rearrange the track list maybe a little more strategically, and, maybe just cut a couple, those songs wouldn't have gotten lost as well. The other thing I didn't like was him dropping it at 6 a.m. I was definitely excited to stay up and listen to it, so that was kind of annoying. But I think something also I didn't like I said, pros and cons again. It was very interesting again seeing him kind of lean to that singing side for him. But I will have, again, I have been following him as a rapper, so I really would like to see him hone in more on that rap side. Again, I think people maybe also again as someone who makes music, I think it is probably unrealistic to expect Drake to make a completely, rap focused album just because he is able to do so many different styles and genres, and his fans are fans of him because of all those different genres. There are people who like the dance or like, the UK style or, all that stuff. So I think he'll probably never do that just because of, he has so many different fans in his fan base, and you can't please them all. But I would like to see a little bit more of that balance there, just there being so many of the singing songs, I think. But there are some really good rap songs on here as well. It really hones in, with the writing. Like I say, First Person Shooter is really good. Amen's really good. That one's kind of like maybe a mixture of rap, singing. Another Late Night's really good. Away From Home, all really good rap songs on here that I really enjoyed. The other thing that I would say here that I didn't like was the song Gently. The only reason I'm pinpointing this one specifically was because of the feature here. We got Bad Bunny. You got two of the biggest artists in the world on the song, and I feel like the song was just a little underwhelming considering, again, you have two of the biggest artists in the world on the same song. Would have liked to see, I think the production on this one specifically was not super interesting. I think it was like pretty, not uncreative, but like, something you haven't heard before, especially if you listen to Bad Bunny. You got the drums, 808, kind of, a rhythm he's used to. Maybe it's different for Drake, but definitely for Bad Bunny, something he's used to. So I think that song, I will have liked to see. I think the collaboration on paper, I'd love to see them work together more, but I think that song didn't really meet the expectations, considering, again, they're just two massive artists who are also both really talented. So I would have liked to see a better song come out of that one. Looking at some of my favorite songs here, so we have First Person Shooter. Virginia Beach is awesome, probably one of my favorite Drake intros, I think. Drew Picasso is one of my favorite R&B ones. Polar Opposites as well. Like I said, Away From Home is a great rap song where it really gets into kind of, it's just a long verse, And then I actually really enjoyed Rich Baby Daddy. I think that was one of the better beats on this album. Just, a little bit different with like the synths, and then, it's got a different rhythm with the drums. I actually enjoyed Sexy Red's hook. I think her verse was probably not the best, but I enjoyed that song. I think it was probably a little long, but I actually like that one. Those were some of my favorite songs for this album. Like I said, definitely a really good project. Probably not a super highly ranked within Drake's discography for me. Probably more of a mid-tier project, or mid to low tier. But again, he just has so many good albums, he has a really high bar to get up into like that top 5. But definitely a really good album. Definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Like I say, if you're into rap, you probably have already listened to it. But definitely encourage you to check it out if you haven't. Like I said, we're going to be doing a video for each of my favorite albums from 2023. Make sure to like and subscribe so you guys don't miss it. Thanks for watching. Peace.